When the guns of World War II finally fell silent in 1945, the architects of the Holocaust did not simply surrender themselves to justice. Many vanished into false identities, rural hiding places, and the chaos of a shattered Europe. Among them was one of history's most prolific mass murderers, a man responsible for the deaths of over 1 million human beings. Rudolf Höss had been the commandant of Auschwitz-Birkenau, the largest and most lethal death camp in the Nazi machinery of extermination. Under his command, the camp had been refined into an industrial killing operation of terrifying efficiency. When the war ended, he did not flee to Argentina like some of his colleagues. He did something almost mundane. He shaved, adopted a false name, and went to work on a farm in northern Germany, calling himself Franz Lang. Hans Alexander was not an ordinary Allied soldier. He was a German-born Jew who had fled Nazi persecution as a young man, found refuge in Britain, and returned to Europe in British uniform with a very personal mission: to hunt down the men responsible for what had been done to his people. Alexander had been tracking Höss methodically. The trail eventually led to the farm. On the night of March 11, 1946, Alexander and a team of soldiers arrived. What followed was not a polite arrest. They dragged Rudolf Höss out of his bed in his pajamas. The man who had sent over 1 million people to their deaths woke up to soldiers pulling him into the cold night air. He was beaten. He was given no sleep. He was subjected to sustained physical pressure over multiple days, until the psychological and physical walls he had built around himself began to crack. Without that night on the farm, without those methods, this testimony might never have existed. Höss was tried, convicted, and hanged at Auschwitz itself in April 1947, on a gallows erected beside the gas chamber he had commanded. These stories sit in an uncomfortable place in the historical record, and they should. The men who were broken by these methods were war criminals of the highest order. Rudolf Höss had personally overseen the murder of over 1 million human beings. The Gestapo men who executed 50 unarmed prisoners had committed a deliberate atrocity. It is difficult to summon much sympathy for their suffering during interrogation. And yet the methods themselves, sleep deprivation, sustained physical coercion, beatings, are the same methods that history has consistently judged as torture when applied by any government to any prisoner. This is not a comfortable contradiction to sit with. But history does not owe us comfort. What these episodes reveal is something morally complex and historically irreducible. Some of the most critical evidence ever gathered about the Holocaust and Nazi war crimes was obtained through coercion. The testimony of Rudolf Höss, still cited in Holocaust history to this day, came from a man who had been beaten and sleep-deprived until he talked. The names of the Great Escape murderers came from prisoners broken inside a facility that Britain kept secret for decades. Had these methods not been used, it is entirely possible that some of these crimes would never have been fully documented. Some of these killers might never have been identified. That is a sad and morally complex truth. But as the historian's obligation demands, we cannot look away from it.